Welcome, everyone. How's everybody doing in this fine Friday? Woo! Woo! Thank you. Oh my gosh. There you go. Awesome. So happy to have everybody here. We have a very exciting workshop today. Let me just introduce myself because I know some people, but others I don't. My name is Azalia Laredo. I am the program manager for Texas Immersive. It's very nice to meet you. Some of you are taking classes at TXI, so raise your hand so they can sort of see you. Awesome. Feel free to ask them any questions about the classes if you're interested. Others just stop by the lab, which is open for everyone. So glad to see some faces returning. All right. Also on staff, we have Sophia in the back. She's our tech whiz, tech associate, and she will be working with us for all the tech goodies. Yes, so we have BuildFest coming up. Raise your hand if you have heard about BuildFest before this event. Cool, awesome. For those of you that don't know, that are just joining us, it's great to have you. BuildFest is one of the annual events at Texas Immersive. It was started by a TXI alumni student here at UT, and it's all about social impact in combination with technology to make, the world a better place, basically. In designing kind of tech terms, they call it a hackathon. We kind of move away from the name just because people get scared, about the term. But it is really like a designing marathon for students of all levels. We accept beginners, we accept creatives. To give you an idea, my background is in music, so if we're not in tech, we're good. We're going to learn together, okay? And the purpose is for you to work on a team for a weekend. It's like a half Friday, Saturday, Sunday, half Sunday. To work with teams to create experiences for social change and social impact. This year's technology is Haptics, and we have the team from DataFeel right here on the screen. Guys, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Sure, I'll go first. I think Charles' camera is off, but I'm Lee Sembluk. I'm the CTO and one of the co-founders for DataFeel. I'm actually up in Vancouver, Canada as well, so you might think I have a bit of a strange accent, but Canadians are nice, so I should automatically get some points that way. I don't know if there's anything else to say necessarily for me, but I'll pass it off to you, Charles, because I'll be talking a lot over the next bit.
Yeah, I'm Charles Lee. I'm the lead engineer at DataFeel. I did a lot of the hardware design and a good amount of the software stuff, so I'm really happy to meet you guys and answer some questions and kind of find out what you guys think about the product and what your questions are in terms of how to interact with it. And yeah, I'll be excited to hear kind of really your guys' backgrounds and yeah, what you guys are studying and what your expertise is and what interests you about kind of this technology. So
thank you so much. So we're gonna dive into the tech for sure. So I'll not explain the haptics part of it because we're definitely gonna talk about it. I want to also share about the social impact team that it's working with us this semester. We're exploring libraries, and at first you might think like, how do you combine tech with libraries? Libraries are so traditional and kind of like one note. Well, that's what we're going to break. That's what we're trying to take a step further. Think about what is the future of libraries. How could you interact with books, literacy, access to public libraries? How can new audiences get invited into these spaces as a welcoming community, as a third space, somewhere that you could interact with the content and the media in a different way? We think like, okay, audiobooks is one way to enhance that experience, having some sort of sound or interaction, but then take it even further, add haptics, add the sensory, add temperature. How could you maybe enhance the library experience or even the experience of reading something or learning something? The team that we're working with at UT is applying for the Bateman competition, is a case study competition, and some of their goals are really just to think a step further into this future of libraries, fight against banned books. So that's very important in this day and age, you know, freedom of information. How do you provide access? How do you enhance that experience? So we are looking for great ideas to start breaking that mold, you know, thinking outside of the box. Now, to share a little bit, and I'm going to share here my screen in just a moment so we can all see it in the recording as well. Yay! So I talked a little bit about BuildFest and how haptics is really could add value to it. Because again, it's not only physical feedback, but there's also like temperature changes. You can incorporate it with lights and sound. And I'm not going to go into that because the experts are here and they can talk about that. But cool ideas just to like start, you know, thinking, you know, outside of the box. These are Aaron's, some of Aaron's examples. Our director and founder at TXI, but think about like storytelling pods and just enhancing that experience of reading something. You could be walking down the forest and then suddenly the smart lights in your home change and you hear the river, you know, the bubbling sound, and you feel some sort of feedback in your body as well. So very cool ideas. I'm just gonna kind of go fast here. Again, freedom of information, that is just very important. Banned books. If you have a favorite one, I don't know if anybody has like a favorite book that has been banned that would feel comfortable sharing. I don't know. Could be. Maybe. Get back to me. Yes.
It's got banned.
Pinkalicious. What banned? Why?
I don't know.
We don't know.
I'm not sure why it got banned.
We will research. But imagine reading a chapter from a book that has been banned, you know, like just providing the education for that of like, why would this be banned? You know, it's important to talk about that. And it's a very cool way to do it through immersive technology. And when one more of Erin's ideas that she mentioned is a pop-up book. You know, you've seen these in like traditional sense, right? Pop-up books, and you get to interact with the story in different ways. Like take it a step further, and what if you add screens to it, flexible screens or sound element? I know that's her favorite idea that she would love to work with you guys. So, you know, just to get inspired, everybody, and, you know, really excited about some of these potential experiences. I was, you know, already hearing some great ideas from some teams over here. Great. So awesome. So that's a little bit about what I wanted to share. BuildFest on our website. The registration is open. So if you want to go ahead and register, please do so. So we get to know what's your background, how to pair you up with a cool team. You don't have to have a team beforehand. You can get to know each other right now. And also we will get more people each week. We're going to have multiple of these workshops from today till the day of the event. So you can get to know the technology. We can talk about some cool ideas about social impact, and you get to know each other. So yeah, any questions? Exciting? Yay! So we want to get to know you. So I'm going to change this camera so we can see you. Starting on the front, would you like to introduce yourself? The camera is right there. If you want to look at the camera, that's okay. You can share your experience, your major. What brings you to build?
I'm Thomas. I'm in AET major, which is Arts and Information Technologies. I do a lot of VR dev work and design, and I've also messed with the Haptic suits that Erin has brought into her lab.
Thomas was helping us with the Haptics Fest during open house yesterday. Thank you. Second row.
Hello, I'm Daniel. I'm a mechanical engineer, and I don't have a specialty right now. I'm kind of just working on everything a little bit.
Also taking one of the TXI classes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Victoria. I'm also a mechanical engineering major, and right now I'm in a team design called Texas Design Build 5, and I have experience analyzing some airports.
Wow.
I'm Leslie. I'm also a mechanical engineering major, and I really don't have any experience in this today, so I'm
Mechanical engineering. Awesome. You guys following down this road?
Hi, my name is Victoria. I am a supply chain management major, and I came to this workshop just to learn more.
I know you guys can't see me, but my name, okay, fantastic. Hold on. Okay, no worries. Okay, hi, my name is Loida Sigio. I'm a business major and I really just came here to learn. I know that Haptics is gonna have great things to look into still later on, so it's good to get to know something new.
Happy to have you.
Hi, my name's Aiden and I'm a film major. I just came here to learn as well. It's all design.
Yay! Sweet, so happy to have you. You can incorporate Haptics into like film, absolutely. You should do something with our D-Box.
Is that the thing
The
that's,
chair,
yeah,
yeah, I wanna. And then you know Sophia in the back. Hi. You know Sophia? Wait.
I don't think we've met, but I work for TXI, I'm the technical associate, so I'll be around for all the workshops and I'll be tech support for the BuildFest. Thank you guys for joining us.
Hello, my name is Hannah Maris. Currently I'm an intern for TXI. The major is advertising and I hope to join BuildFest this year, so I'm excited. Hi. I'm one of the TXI interns and I will also be at BuildFest this year, so I hope to see you guys there.
And the lead for the company.
Yes, yes.
Awesome, awesome. So let me kind of,
Yeah, really diverse group.
Yeah.
Awesome.
we're hoping to get more as the word starts to go around.
What's how many teams are registered, Azalea?
Have to go back and double check. So we're getting more walk-ins than registration. So
Sure.
tell people to register. You can make a team beforehand, and if not, no worries. We can team you up on day one of the event.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome.
Cool.
All right, I have a couple questions for the group while we have them all there. So far I got film, mechanical engineering, computer science, business, advertising. Was there something I was missing?
Supply chain.
Yeah, I put that, yeah, under business, but supply chain. We can keep you separate if you really want to, though. If you don't want to be associated, we can give you your own category. So that covers everybody.
Yep.
Perfect. And in terms of coding experience, that can be anything. Maybe just try and give like a thumbs up if you're really comfortable, kind of in between if you're not super comfortable, and a thumbs down if you're really not comfortable at all.
Thumbs up, kind of sideways.
Okay. All right.
A couple down, a couple down.
Yeah. Cool. So I mean, first of all, that's totally fine. The other thing I do want to know is just some interests that you might have that could tie in. So like throw your hands up. If you're out of frame, maybe try and just make sure somebody else gets you or that you get in. But music, like is anyone musicians like playing around doing that? Okay. Few musicians, perfect. I heard film, so I'm assuming film, movies, that type of thing. Anyone else like doing stuff like video editing, videos, any of that stuff? Okay. Okay, a bit there. Stuff like, I don't know if we had some mechanical engineers and such, so things, even if we go into stuff like textiles, fashion, kind of designing stuff that can be worn, put your hand up for anything kind of in the making physical stuff for people to wear. Okay, perfect. I'm trying to think. Gaming, I imagine will be a big thing. Let's see. Anything else that you can think of, Charles, that's loosely tied in? We said music.
You hit all the big ones, definitely.
Okay, cool. So you know, one of the things that is interesting and kind of unique about us is we wanted to make it so that even if someone doesn't want to touch code, they should still be able to kind of interact. It might be a little bit more complicated, but say if they're musicians, it should be able to, you know, to have some sort of influence. And we really wanted this to be something that inspires creativity. You know, the more capability somebody has, the more they'll be able to do with it, or the more they'll need to collaborate with somebody else that you know can complement them. But we really wanted to have it where even if, you know, all you do is fashion, it can still come up with something kind of new or novel or unique or that type of stuff. So unlike maybe many hackathons or build fests, like, you know, if you have somebody that is a really good musician, that would probably be a good asset to your team, even if they have nothing to do. So feel free to bring along some friends that way. If you have people that, you know, really into fashion design, putting some of those things together, electrical engineering, like they're great to bring out. You know, Charles will be happy to have as many engineers as possible and so on. So anyone that does gaming, or even some like data science and things like that. So all of those things are kind of welcome here. And I think the more diversity we have in it, the more variance there will be in the projects, which I think will also be cool. So I would even say somebody like with the idea of that sort of pod where you can listen to stories and have immersive stories in there. Like there's some pretty cool stuff that way too. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there that we do really welcome a lot of varying skills in this. So perfect. We have one new joiner, so we might just put you on the if you can just kind of give your name, what your faculty is, and then if you have any kind of just cool interests to throw in there too.
I was just here to learn more. I don't have any like specific in immersive technology, so I'm just here to learn more.
Okay, so did I hear a faculty in there? I might have not got it.
I came here because I'm in Benjamin Bay lecture class. I'm about to what we want.
Okay, I didn't quite catch that. I don't know if the audio went out weird for me. Did you get that, Charles?
No, it sounds like the audio got quieter or something.
Hold on, testing.
That's okay.
For computer science.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect.
Welcome back. Hi.
Oh,
Psychology, that is great. Awesome. Psychology and computer science from a production class here at Moody.
perfect. I will add psychology as another good topic, like psychology, sociology, anything that kind of can influence and explain human behavior is good things too. So you'll understand a little bit more why, but this might be a good time to go into a little bit of a slideshow, I think, unless there's anything else from you, Azalea.
The floor is yours. Take it away.
Perfect. All right, let me do a screen share. Just give me some thumbs up if you can see it now. Perfect. So I mean, this is just a fancy title slide, so we don't need to get into too much there. But the first thing is just we're going to go over, we've got 4 workshops. We've got today's the intro. We're going to go a bit more into the technical part of how to connect next week. Then we're going to go into things like how to make haptic tracks, music, data, kind of the creation side. On the 3rd week, we're going to go into things like attachments, some sensor data, form factors, and then a big extended Q&A beforehand. So if you're at all of those, you'll get a pretty good head start and interaction going into BuildFest. I'm sure there'll be some good ideas kind of marinating throughout those weeks as well, before BuildFest on the week after. So the first thing for me is really just like, why are each of you here? Because there's, and it's not just because there was a sign or something, but when we talk about social impact, we talk about new technologies, whatever. Just maybe if one or two of you just want to share, like what actually interested you or excited you about coming here and being interested in BuildFest.
Yes.
Hi, well, I'm interested in like telling stories in new ways because I feel like there's like a lot of future in haptics. So I feel like that can create a new experience in how you navigate your story and stuff. So I'm interested in that aspect of it.
Yeah, awesome. And the reason I asked this question is like technology is a vehicle. It's to do something that you care about more than that's the exciting thing itself. Right. So telling stories in new ways and connecting that way. Perfect. Anybody else want to share?
I've just loved haptics from like the first Rumble pack that I used. So it's really interesting to sort of have that level of immersion and storytelling and game development. I think like, and especially when you're combining it with immersive media like virtual reality, where it does add another dimension and it adds another sense. So yeah, I'm excited to explore more sensory input in our experiences.
Perfect. So this is a good next follow-up. What are haptics? Feel free. Anyway, there's no wrong answer here. It's just what, like, when you hear the word haptics, what do you associate? What do you explain to somebody?
So I explained haptics as kind of involving more than one sense, whether it's touch or sight or other things that you might not be using for a specific task, sound, whatever it is. Just involving more senses to make yourself more immersed in the experience.
Okay. Anyone else? There's got to be somebody.
I would say creating a more immersive environment and using your senses to do that. I like that you said senses that you wouldn't usually think that you would need. And going back to the last question, I think it'd be interesting specifically to see how it's done with VR in the virtual environment, because that's really, right now we have, I believe like one or two senses for that, but it'd be interesting to see how we incorporate other senses to make it a more vivid experience.
Yeah, maybe one more. You're gonna have to hear me talk for a long time, so you may as well get some talking in early. Hear some other voices.
Well, I remember like the term haptics as like haptic feedback. So it's almost like this like line of communication that's been open with whatever we're interacting with. And also again, packaging that up, it's using a sensory input and a sensory response to be more immersed in whatever you're doing.
And specifically, would there be one sense or one type of haptics or a few types? Like, just what do you usually associate with it as well?
Definitely touch, I think, is the most like most profound for haptic feedback, or that I've experienced or have had accessibility to so far. So that's, I think, why like with your technology with temperature control is also really fascinating, because that's something that I haven't experienced before. And definitely another level of experiencing full immersion environments, I would say.
Cool. One more question for you. What are libraries? What do you think of with libraries?
Think of a place with books that you go to, you read, enjoy your time, you might check something out, but it's really a place to go and gain knowledge from.
Okay. What else?
I just think of it as a community center because like a library does hold books, but it's also just a place where communities get together to either like read articles together or just a place for people just to get like do crafts together. So it's really just a giant community space for everyone to get along, meet new people in the neighborhood.
Okay, maybe two more.
I would say that like the library is like a storehouse of knowledge, not necessarily just from books, but you can find other media like things like computers, movies, documentaries, things like that as well.
Okay, one more. Anyone we haven't heard from yet? This is the last question for a while, so I'll leave you alone after this. Okay. All right. So I'm going to introduce a concept of a third place or third space. So this was something that was a topic that was brought up by Ray Oldenburg and Karen Christensen, and they basically decided home is your first place, work is your second place, or if you're a student, that would be school. But third places are sort of anchors of community that facilitate creativity, interaction, just for people to gather, basically. So going back, third places were like the ancient Greek agoras, which were public squares, Chinese tea houses, European coffee houses. Libraries definitely were more of one of those spaces. I think sometimes they've got away from that a little bit, or just like public squares don't really exist as much anymore. There's like clubs, there's hacker spaces, maker spaces, parks, bars. Those are all kind of examples, but it's places where you can go, you kind of have a shared community, you'll see regulars, like it's people that, it kind of feels like a home away from home. And we want to introduce a bit more or bring up the use of libraries as third spaces again, but that actually means viewing them and seeing them in a different way than we might be used to. So there's 8 characteristics of a third place. One is that it's neutral ground for everybody. So there's no obligation to be there. Anyone's welcome. Yeah, like nobody kind of has more or less say over anybody else. It's also something that is a leveler. So anyone's welcome, anyone belongs. Doesn't matter if you're old or young, smart, not very smart, like it doesn't matter. Now this is where we might have to stretch our idea of libraries a little bit, because the mood of third places is actually a bit playful. And by that, it means like it's not hostile, it's not tense. It's about conversations, interactions, things that are meant to spark joy. Right. So if you think of just a lightness that comes with that place, it's accessible and can accommodate and receive anyone that wishes. So it's, like if you think of a library, it's got picture books with hardly any words. It's got complete, books that I probably would struggle to make it halfway through because it's, way above my head, right? So they've kind of got things for everybody. There's different languages in books. There's, kind of a bit of everything. There's also a sense of regulars. So by that, it means like you'll run into the same faces. It's like, oh, there's you know, somebody I know over there, might run into somebody else. You start to kind of see a bit of a community there, and those people help just welcome others, set the tone. But it's not as if they're paid. They're just people that are there and kind of create that culture. They're also low profile, and by that doesn't mean they can't be nice. It just means that they're like there's something wholesome. It's warm, it's accepting. Another thing is it's about conversation, discussion, connection. Like that really is the reason people go there. You know, transfers of knowledge, stories, everything kind of comes along with that, but it really is about connection between people and ideas. And then the last thing is that it is a home away from home. So it's meant to be a place where you almost feel like a part of you belongs there, right? And no matter how diverse people are, there's always kind of like, here's something that gives me warmth and belonging and almost like, you know, is rejuvenating in a way. And this concept really, I really understood it when I was in the Netherlands and I went to a place called the Forum in Groningen. I tried to say that well. I'm sure my Dutch partner will laugh at me for how I pronounced it, but that's fine. Have any of you been to the Netherlands by any chance? Okay, what? And Groningen by any chance?
Did you grow up there?
No.
Okay, cool. That would have been awesome if somebody else got to experience this place, but it's this building right here, if you can see it. It's about 10 stories, and what's really unique is there's kind of two sides joined by a bunch of escalators. Now all the way up, if you look kind of over here, the library is spread out throughout the whole thing, and it's at the top of every level. There'll be books, there'll be movies, there'll be whatever, and at different themes, different parts, but at every point, it's just there's knowledge, there's information, there's entertainment, every level you're at. At the top, there's this deck with a beautiful view. People have weddings up there, events, there's a nice restaurant. You'll see some more, but they have, like here you can see, you know, at the top, if you look at the bottom, you'll see the ends of the escalators, but like I said, just books, information. There's this area called Wonderland where there's more to do. It's kind of more interactive. And then they have exhibits, like museum exhibits. They brought in Disney stuff. They brought in the art of DC, where you get to learn and explore how they came up with all of these concepts. They've got you know, all of the kind of dress and decor and the thought processes and the Batmobile there. You know, so they are constantly bringing in these different exhibits to draw people there. But it's also a place for play, whether that's chess, whether it's a hanging net for kids and their parents to read books on that's completely actually open to the floor below. Then they actually have like concerts, and there's a whole venue in there for musicians, for everything there. And of course, VR equipment where you can play games, you can create stuff, you test it out. There's food, there's drinks, you can see some nice fine dining stuff, some things a little bit more casual with coffee. It's just a place people want to hang out. And then the other thing is there's just all these different places for people to be. You can see there's I think, but I'm gonna guess grandpa, but I don't know, could just be an older father and a grandchild watching I think that's Storks, a Disney movie together. There's people having food in the background. Here's kind of a play lab. There's outdoor spaces. There's places for people to study. Like it really is just about, let's find reasons for people to be there. Because the ultimate thing, and when we talk about Bateman Library and their their mission is, it all comes down to people wanting to be in places like libraries and caring about it, right? And then to do it in a way that actually is about connection to something, whether that's experiences or however. And the part that was really cool was, I remember when I was in there, I was thinking about it going, like, if I'm gonna go out somewhere else in the city, it's a place just to meet up as like, oh, let's just meet here, then we go somewhere else. It could be a place where you take someone on a date. It could be a place you show your parents. It could be a place you go with nieces and nephews. Like is just kind of a they have a movie theater playing some of the latest movies, also throwbacks to ones 30 years ago. So it's, like you could just see everything was kind of created in a way of how do we connect people, right? And to do it in a way where you're exciting people about it, right? So this is just an idea of a third space that is a library, and it's a little bit more, but it tells stories. So this leads a bit into us and who we are and why we're here, why we're developing the technology, why we decided that BuildFest was a good opportunity for us. So let's see. For us, we'll get the boring stuff out of the way. We're a B2B tech company that spans Canada and the US. We are releasing a multi-energy haptic development kit that will make more sense to you exactly what that is later on. We do hardware, software, have a really good patent portfolio, and our team is composers, doctors, engineers, lawyers, MBAs. Realize I'm none of those, so you can throw me as just somebody not one of those things on there too. And we've raised some money, but we're not a huge company. And I put that up front for a couple of reasons. One is you are getting a bit of an opportunity to be early on in something. We have some really good partnerships and such, but we really are kind of, I'll say we're responsive to people that we work with, right? We love feedback, we love ideas, and we want and have the capacity to really work with people on that side. Bigger companies, that's just not the reality, because they almost have too many people to try and please. And for us, we're a bit the opposite on that side, where we really love to say, come to us with good ideas. We'll see how much we can help you take those ideas and turn it into a business. We're never going to sell that as a product of our own, right? We really want to encourage other people, which is why something like BuildFest is great, and universities. So we started this way because the problem that we were finding was there's vibration only haptics. They've been around for a long time. As we heard, the Rumble Pack for Nintendo is one of the classic ones. And while they're really good, they have a lot it's low bits of information. And it really enhances what you see with your eyes. But the majority of the information and how you make sense of it is based off what you see, not what you're feeling. And we can't communicate anything complex. So when we start adding in other energy types like heat, cold, pressure, shock, light, you can start actually communicating more information. And the example that I just like giving is, if you have vibration giving a heartbeat, right? Like you can feel that pretty well, but it doesn't tell you, is that too fast? Is that Is that regular? Is that too slow? Where if you start adding heat, now all of a sudden there's context to that, right? This is faster than it should be. I don't need to try and think and count and do all this. I instantly know. If it's too cold, if it's cold and slow, okay, yeah, I recognize this is something that I need to pay attention to. And if there's no thermal at all, that's actually a third piece of information of it's within a normal range. You're fine, right? So just you can see by adding one energy type like heat, cold, or neutral, that's actually multiplying the information you can give by 3, right? And then you don't really need to look at a screen. You don't need anything else, and that can also go with a lot of different bits of information too. And then the other thing was, once again, like vibration only haptics has countless uses, but our body and our skin has a whole bunch of different types of nerves that respond to different stimulus. So we're really only using one of them. And there's a lot of really cool products out there. There's, it's going up. So just in terms of size of the market, it's going to be about 18.5 billion by 2026 or 2028, sorry. But that is almost entirely vibrational, right? So for us, it's kind of, there were black and white TVs for a long time, and then all of a sudden it started going color and is just, opened up kind of the possibilities of what can be communicated, right? So this just goes a little bit more into the science. We know that different types of energy output to the human body affects different systems in the body. Now, nerves are involved in focus, in mood, in inflammation, in pain, as well as creating more immersive environments and experiences. So we bring this up because when the concept of third places, it's, we do want it where someone can feel relaxed and calm and at home. And multi-energy haptics can help somebody almost immediately soothe their nervous system, right? There's parts of the body where the vagus nerve is and certain types of stimulation where you can just, okay, now I'm calm, I'm present, I can have a good conversation, right? There's the flip side, you can create anxiety. So for certain types of movies or films, that might actually be beneficial, right? Might not want to have that for a long time, but it just gives ideas of how the nerves and the different receptors really can affect where we are, and different parts of the body give different responses. One example that I really liked was they're talking about the concept of parents with babies. When you want to calm them and they're crying, like you just kind of rub the back of their back, the upper back, or you pat it and it's calm and it's soothing. It's like, well, throw some of our dots on the back and it's like the same sort of base sensation of, okay, a warm hand, some nice gentle tapping, right? Like there's all these different tricks and methods and things that I think it's interesting for people to explore. And then the other thing is with multi-energy, usually the question that I just ask is, does one energy type at one location produce a benefit? If so, would another one help or hinder it? If it helps, then see what there is, see what else we can do with it. So, it kind of talked about a few of these things before, but the main thing to know is our development kits right now do vibration, thermal, and optical. So that's light, hot, cold, or vibration, or all of them at once in different combinations. Who it's for, well, really, our aim was to use it as like, how can we help people prototype or sorry, proof of concept within a few days, prototype within a few weeks, and then allow them to go from there. Because, you know, what a final product is takes as long as someone wants to spend, but we really wanted to shorten that amount of time. And with hardware, that's, you know, getting started is usually a pretty tricky thing. And Charles and the rest of the guys have done a good job of trying to make something that can, you know, get somebody probably between 30 to 80% of the way there within a short amount of time. So that's what we're aiming for. And then why does it matter? We kind of went over a bit of that, but it's really just about, you know, finding where limitations are and where we can enhance those. So that's everything from accessibility. So if someone's blind, you can still communicate information through multi-energy to them. If there's, you know, problems with immersion, or, you know, like when we talk about calming down a nervous system, there's, you know, tapping does work. Other energy forms work as well. Start throwing them together if you need, right? Like there's different ways of just, you know, seeing, well, what can be better, and that's than the current state, and that's really what we thrive on. So I'll do a little bit of a overview of the development kit, but not get too deep, because there'll be time for that, and Charles will also go and do a better job of it. But it starts with the DataFeel dot itself. So it's a multi-energy haptic generator that gives vibration, thermal, optical energies, and it can be controlled by multiple data sources. So we'll get into what that actually is. So it can generate heat or cold, so we can fluctuate between them fairly rapidly, you know, somewhere between 2 degrees, like around 2 degrees per second. Hot is easier to do, cold takes a little bit longer. We also have a bunch of LEDs that can go towards the skin and away to the skin. We've got vibrational forces that we can have a fairly wide spectrum, so you can actually tune what frequency you want it at, because different parts of the body respond differently to different frequencies. So we wanted to give that ability too. So it's not just about intensity, it's about, you know, what frequency the body's actually absorbing. And then, you know, we do with communication, you don't need to sustain cold for a really long time. With therapeutic uses, you might need to. So we also have you know, some heat sinks or possibilities of expanding that to allow those things. Oh, I skipped ahead by 2 because we have a fancy new video that, you know, you always want to show cool animations. So there's also sensors in there. There's IMUs, there's temperature sensors. There is a microphone in there, but we don't recommend using it right now, because we still have a few kinks to work out with that. As we said, we're still you know, still a startup going in, but if that's really something that's needed, maybe let us know. But we recommend whatever's controlling it, just the microphone's better typically, because it's not in cases and all of that. We've got a way of sensing what the vibrations actually are and making sure it matches. And then we've got access for 2-way communication and closed or open feedback loops as well. We've got El Jefe, which was just kind of a name that we came up with joking around, and we just never got around to changing it. And I think we liked it as a team, but it's the boss, which has so it can connect wirelessly or wired. It's got batteries in it, but it's basically the controller that bridges the dots to, you know, whatever computer or source that we're using. It's rechargeable. There's the connections, don't need to go too much into it. But we also have like 3D printable attachments for both the dots and the El Jefe itself. And we're happy to give you any of those files to play around with. So any of the mechanical engineers, you can take the files, you can change them. I believe the university is looking at having some 3D printers available, but I don't want to confirm or deny on that because I don't know if that's it. Yes, I got a thumbs up. Perfect. So that way you can actually work and say, well, how do we want these to fasten? What do we want them to fasten to? Do we want watch bands? Do we, like, so we will have some of those for you. However, you can also do that yourself. You can also just have some cool colors and themes and such if you want. So it's a way to play around that way for both the dot and El Jefe. Let's see, we've got some software as well. There's various levels with some working on some platforms, some on others. But basically, we wanted to give you a head start on creating things like haptic tracks and connecting with the dots. We've got an SDK, we've got a Unity asset. We've got our own software that's for PC right now that's a good kind of test and to play things. We're working on the Apple side. We just a little behind on that one. And then we can also connect directly as a MIDI controller over Bluetooth. So anything that outputs MIDI, which is why we talked about music and DAWs and so on, you can create stuff and just have it go straight through without the need of anything else fancy. We just tell you which note does what, and you get to organize it that way. This is just a little bit of a demo with our software there, and you can see the lights kind of flashing, and of course you can't feel anything through there, but it's an example of just what can right out of the box. You just take it, you throw some straps on, and this actually has, let me pause it. It's got one dot on the wrist on the inside and one on the other side. So it's actually, we were playing around with some binaural rhythms and seeing, well, what happens when you have binaural rhythms audio and also having those fed to the body in different frequencies. So, it's an example of just a couple straps, you throw them on, you can start playing around with different elements there. You can have 4 on it on one arm. If anybody really needs something that has more than 4, we may be able to give you a couple extras, but really 4 is roughly what you'll have to play around with each kit. We've got some really good people in terms of creating some good art and ideas and various things. So, I want to make sure we show some fun things, but we've got everything from just a watch element that's there. So anything that can be done with the watch with a timepiece. This one is just done in metal, but I mean, you can 3D print whatever you want there. So that's one idea. Another one is using it as a pendant. Right, so you can have something attached that way. Of course, you have to figure out where the wires go and so on from there. Multi-energy headbands, so that can be tied in any way for any VR experiences there. As well as this one has a couple of arm sleeves to be used. They can be used with or without anything VR gaming, those types of things. So there's just like different possibilities that way. I'm also going to put the prices up here. We're not going to charge you for anything because it's all part of BuildFest and such, but just to give an idea, they are about $1,500 for a development kit, and that includes kind of everything. So if you know the haptic space, that's actually quite cheap, especially for anything multi-energy. For us, like I said, we really just want people playing around with it and all of that. So like I said, we are more about the B2B side of things. So we want this in as many creative people's hands as possible because we're not trying to make money off the dev kits. It's really about kind of spreading good ideas and doing that and finding good people to work with. So we try and do that. And then that's what I have for mine. So I tried to fly through that and I was aiming for right on the hour and I think I did it. So I am going to stop my screen share. And I'll start it up again if needed. Any questions? I wanted to give this space questions if you have ideas of like, could it work for this, or what about this, or what about this? Now is a good time to ask it. If it's more on the technical side, about like what languages, all that, Charles will get into, a bit more of a technical side afterwards. But questions, thoughts, ideas, anything from anybody? Oh, sorry, can you say that again? The mic just didn't pick up right away.
You thought of using it for sleep therapy?
Yes. So we've thought about a whole lot of things. We don't want to be the ones that build it. So now for things like this, absolutely, right? We've decided to focus on making the development kit and igniting ideas. But we've got lots of different ones, and there's a lot. The thing that's neat with sleep is there's so many different ways that it can go. And as I said, so we did talk about the music integration. We do have 2 Grammy Award winning, one's a composer, one's a sound engineer based out of LA. And then we also have a guy on our team that is, we refer to him as a bioacoustician. I don't know if that term exists, but that's what we call him anyways. And he's really an expert kind of in binaural rhythms, frequencies, pairing these things together. So I mention it because they will be mentors that you can access on the weekend. And they'll have some really cool ideas and knowledge about tying in music with that. Part of the other thing that I think is interesting is like, where on the body would you want these? Why would you want them there? How does that tie in? Things like this. So yeah, so it was a good question. And as you can tell, you'll notice there's lots of different places to take this. Other questions?
Sorry if you already talked about this, I came in a little late, but I'm interested in the collecting physiological data. You said the microphone, not so much right now.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about what you can collect with the dots?
Did you want to answer that one now, Charles, or go after?
Yeah, the most important thing on this dev kit would just be temperature sensors on the skin. So there's a contact plate on the bottom of the dot that faces the skin directly, and it senses the temperature at that point. So that's the most useful for like closed loop feedback if we're trying to maintain a certain temperature at the skin and the associated data there. And there's also a 6-degree of freedom IMU, inertial measurement unit. So there's 3 axes of accelerometer and 3 axes of gyroscope. So you can collect that. Can I ask what what area of application you're thinking of, or maybe there's a sensor in mind that you would like to see or something you want to measure?
Well, I'm curious, like how it could be used in an experience that is more mobile than a VR, perhaps. I mean, it could be in a VR experience, but just kind of tracking how much someone's moving and I guess their temperature when they're interacting with things, and collecting that data, I think would be really interesting.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I mean, so you'll, depending on your experience and your expertise and, how much time we have, at the actual BuildFest, you could theoretically build a totally mobile application. We have a Bluetooth interface, so you'll have wires on the device itself, but it doesn't necessarily have to be plugged in, hardwired to your laptop or anything. If you want to do motion tracking is possible with just the IMU data. It can be a little tricky with the math and kind of the just processing of the IMU data, but depending on what you're trying to do, it's there's a lot of possibilities. Those IMUs typically they're really helpful for things like gestures, like if you want to do like I don't know if you guys have smartwatches, but like if you flip your smartwatch up, a lot of times it'll just light up for you. And so you can read the time or whatever. That's based on IMU gestures, just kind of profiling the data, of what happens when you make that gesture. That's how they do that. So there's stuff like that.
Yeah.
What else, Lee?
Yeah, I mean, for sensors, those are kind of the main ones that we have. The other thing I'd say though is like with something like a hackathon, often it's like, there's microphones on a phone that work really well or different things, or you can plug in others. So a lot of the data sources that might be useful, for example, if you want blood oxygen levels, there's other sensors that you're free to bring in and get data from and integrate that into something else, right? So like we encourage any of those things. Like one person was doing something with conversational and discussion and agents that way. So for example, they can have a two-way microphone that can separate who's talking, go through ways of separating that sentiment analysis, and then that spits out data that connects to us as a wearable, right? And so there's different ways of tying in different sensor data, what it's good for, like, so it really is I'll say sometimes using the right tool for the right job. And that's why, like for our microphones, we have it on there, but there's easier, more accessible other things than trying to get a bunch of voice data onto our network to do all this that's with casings, right? So instead of trying to debug a bunch of that stuff, it's just use something that's really easy to access and already has some tools for these purposes. Does that answer?
Yeah.
Oh, go. Yeah.
I was just gonna say one way you could look at it is just kind of a way to enhance what's already possible, on your computer, using web APIs or existing, your webcam, your laptop microphone, stuff like that. But like, in terms of like VR gaming and stuff like that, the game already exists, right? We have a lot of games already, but just kind of adding the haptic factor to that is just something, it's a way to add on top of the gaming and make it something more. So, you could do that potentially with with anything on your computer, right? And not necessarily a game. You could tie the temperature of the data field dots to the weather outside right now or something like that. So yeah, you can use, in a way there's, you're not constrained to the sensors on the dots themselves, right?
Thank you.
Sure.
Like there's another hand as well. Go ahead.
I was wondering about the temperature output and how localized it is. And second question with the mounting systems, you were talking about like a metal watch, and then we're also talking about 3D printing, so using like PLA. So how does the temperature, how is the output different using different materials for the mounting system?
Okay, first question, I guess the temperature. Okay, wait, what was the first question? The contact patch? It's like a little piece of metal on the bottom of the dot. It's like the size of a quarter.
That was plugged in. I can show mine a little bit. So we do have a like the heat sinks on one side, and that's solid aluminum. Charles is showing the other side that has the contact plate there. The other pieces are the 3D printed ones. So
Right. So if you're to change so like if you look at this one, this is just two like individual loops for mounting. The part of this that's meant to be changed out like the most easily is just kind of the center section. So there's other styles of these that will provide, and of course you can design your own too.
yeah,
But there's some with, mounting holes if you want to do that kind of thing, a more rigid mounting, or if you want to, this actually has this takes a strapped watch pin. Let me see if I can find that one. Like this is
I,
just the center section alone that can just be switched out, and this has a watch band on it. So kind of whatever you want to do there, it shouldn't really affect kind of the thermal output too much at the contact patch. But if you want one thing to consider, if you want very, very good thermal performance, um, the thermoelectric unit on this is kind of a heat pump, right? So there's no such thing as coldness. It's really just a lack of heat. So when you want to make the skin cold, you're really just taking heat from the bottom and then you're moving it to the top side and kind of letting that dissipate through the air. So, if you just leave it on max cold for a while, it will saturate the top. So if you want like super good, thermal performance, you'll want to get rid of that heat somehow. And we do have some heat sinks available, kind of external heat sinks to aid in that, or you can kind of design your own there if you want, if you want it to get like very, very, very cold for a very long time, that's kind of up to you, but not everyone's going to need that, right? That's going to be, part of your constraints.
yeah,
Um,
I will
and
also
then,
just quickly add, like one of our partners has bands that go right to it. They have a knee brace that they've put out. So that's, there's different ways of getting there. So that does also tie into anyone that is in the mechanical engineering or electrical engineering. Like these are things that if you want to try and solve some of those problems to enhance it, that's also ways of contributing through the build fest. But sorry, I interrupted. Charles, go ahead.
yeah, just saying so the temperature is capped on the firmware of the board itself, so it can't get too hot and it can't get too cold, like enough to burn you. So it's capped at, like 45 degrees Celsius, roughly.
Yeah, we try not to send people to hospitals or anything like that. Perfect. Any other questions or ideas or anything kind of popping around right away? No. Okay. Perfect. Just before we go on, does anyone want just like a couple minutes just to stretch or take a bit of a break, or should we just, yeah, okay, maybe just take a few minutes, stretch, do all that. I know we've been chatting for a bit, then we'll come back. Charles can get into the more technical stuff. But maybe we'll just give 5 minutes. So I think 17 past the hour should be 5 according to my clock, or 18. Okay, perfect. So the plan for the next little bit is Charles is just going to go a little bit more into the tech, but it really is going to be about us answering questions, getting to know you, your thoughts a little bit better, that type of thing. Seemed like there's some teams already being formed and good conversations, which is what we like to see. How I see our role as DataFeel is really just to do the best job of letting you run with those ideas. So part of why I say that is the earlier you start sharing some of these ideas with us, the more we can say, actually, we might want to work on this little attachment piece, or we might want to work on something a little bit here to help. We know that's going to be a bit of a sticking point. It allows us to start just ideating how we can best support you as well. So it's feel free to just share anything that gets sparked, or questions or concerns or things like that. as well. So I guess without further ado, I'll hand it off to Charles. Anything technical, you're in really good hands with him. So don't ask me those questions. Just give it to him. He's the one that's been building everything, kind of in charge of it all. So if anything that you like and are impressed with, he's probably the one that deserves the credit. We had a hand first.
Question. So with the temperature control, is it like if you're touching it physically, you can feel a temperature difference, or does the heat radiate at all?
It's pretty localized.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's based on direct contact, so really it's it's roughly the diameter of a quarter is the contact pad, so you're not going to feel it too much outside of that for each dot.
Okay, and how hot can it get? How cold can it get?
It'll be capped at 45 degrees. If you have really good heat sinking, it can get down single digit Celsius degrees, close-ish to freezing with these, but it'll depend on some other constraints, right? If you can get rid of the heat on the top side with an external heat sink or whatever, or using the one that we have some of these nice heat sink attachments that we can loan out to you guys, but there are kind of a limited number of these. But
Yeah.
this or something like this, that if you want to design that yourself, this is just something that has surface area and fins, so just kind of spread it out on the top side, and that'll let you get a lot colder. But it won't sustain temperatures below freezing, and that's mandated in firmware just because of you don't want to build up like frost and dew, or I guess just condensation in general.
Yeah.
To like get your perspective on this, that's 115 degrees Fahrenheit down to like 30 degrees Celsius. 30 degrees Fahrenheit, which is crazy. That's huge.
Yeah, and what I'd say is, for the dots that just come like this, don't expect to be able to constantly have access to that full range and be able to go to it, because the math behind it all is really just it hurts my head a little bit, but it really is the difference between the two. So if you can get heat out really quick, which, like Charles said, the bigger heat sinks, if there's fans, then you can sustain and get bigger variations in the temperature. We don't have those on every single dot because we made it more for shorter bursts of stuff. So like this is a good example of, if there is a project that you see that you want those, talk to us early, and then we'll see what we might be able to help with. Because if you bring that to us like, oh, I want this halfway through Saturday, it's probably not going to to be a solution that if yours is coming on to that, to be like, we want therapeutic level sustainability, you'd have to do some work on that yourself, if that answers it. But it can get a really impressive range, the tech itself.
Yeah, what do you got?
Just along the same lines, have you worked with anyone that built anything that created heat or of any kind, like say like on the chest, like some material they attached the dots to that was successfully like spreading it out?
And spreading out the heat specifically.
Or the cold?
It's tricky, right? Because you don't really necessarily want to put anything in between the dot and your skin. Essentially anything you put there is going to dilute the thermal performance to some degree, because it's always going to add, just that little bit of resistance. So, and thermal mass, right? So to really get that sensation, you have to heat up some of the metal and the dot on that contact plate in the first place, and that kind of degrades the performance as it is. So really best case scenario is going to be kind of direct skin contact.
Yeah.
Now I mean there's it yeah, I mean that's what I would recommend. There are kind of some materials you could try if you really wanted to spread it out, and you would kind of increase the area of effect a little bit, but yeah, it would be, yeah, just be aware that the temperature difference would be degraded.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that slightly because it really is like the more you spread it out, the more mass needs to be heated and cooled. So we went small because we wanted to be able to change that more quickly. But like for products, like I'll hold this one up again, where this is a product to market where it is meant to spread it out. But I mean it uses fans, it uses a lot of power, it's made for therapeutic uses. It doesn't change from hot to cold within a few seconds. It takes a little bit more time to do it. So like I said, there's trade-offs. For your question of can they do it, it is yes, but not just out of the box. For in terms of products and being able to do it, like there's lots of really good, exciting ones. Just for the hackathon experience, it might be tough, but happy to have longer conversations about something if you're looking for beyond or for bigger projects, that type of stuff. Yeah. All right, Charlotte, did you want to just
Yeah. If there's no more questions off screen or anything, I did want to get a little more better of an idea of skill sets. So I think there were, maybe half of you guys were mostly comfortable programming. Can you guys say what language you guys, are comfortable with? I guess hand up if you have used Python and are okay with Python. Okay, awesome. Um, any C# programmers? No,
there's one at the front.
just one. Okay, anyone use Unity game engine? Okay. Okay, awesome. Okay, so is a lot of the curriculum in Python, or are you guys learning that outside class, or what's your experience there?
Yeah, we learned Python in class.
Okay. Okay, good to know.
Just as far as that, what other languages would people say they're most familiar with, or is if it's not Python or C#?
HTML. Block these.
Okay. Well, we'll go over kind of the development environment and the API and have some code samples for you next week. So we're gonna go really in depth there. And then there's also, we'll get into it, but there's ways to generate kind of haptic tracks without having to really code it all. Just kind of with the basic object file format. But yeah, we'll get into that. So it's good to know kind of what your guys' skill sets are. Yeah, what's up?
Do they integrate nicely with Python, like libraries within Python, or no?
So unfortunately, we don't have the Python API ready to go yet. So everything's kind of the best support right now is in Unity, and then we've got some sample applications you can kind of use to play haptic tracks out of the box. Yeah, I mean, Python is really high on the list. I don't know if it's quite stable enough yet, but if we've got a couple weeks, right? So that's certainly something we can get a basic version of, at least the low level API of. So you guys can fool around with that if you're inclined. The limitation is, if you want to do something like deployed mobily to your Android phone or iOS phone, like on an app or something, Python gets tougher, right? So, certainly, yeah, it's really fun to fool around with Python because it's so easy to just get up and running, but it's, more limited there. And we were very focused on kind of the VR gaming aspect, so we were kind of targeting more Unity side of things and other game engines and compatibility there. But yeah, definitely would love to have a Python API, and I think we can have something for you since it's so prevalent among you guys.
Yeah, we'll put, like, this is part of why we're asking these questions, is so we push it up to the top of our list to have at least base level stuff, maybe not everything that we have in the other languages and as stable, but we will, we'll make sure we have something so that it allows you to do that and interface a lot easier. So go ahead, Charles.
I mean, I'm mostly good. Other questions?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be going next week more in depth onto the actual like the connections, the tech side of it, but yeah, just any questions. Like we do still have up to another half an hour if needed. We didn't have anything planned because we wanted to make sure we got to answer whatever you needed. So yeah, I see a hand up there.
Understanding. So if it works best from direct skin contact, you just feel like having something like on the arm specifically would be probably the best way to do it. Since everyone usually is like, wearing their shirt or something, so you really can't effectively keep like direct skin on someone's chest or something, but you can probably do it more on their arms or maybe even like their neck.
Yeah, so I mean it's a good question, and I think in terms of ease, the arms are good. I mean, you're not in Canada, so legs definitely can be used as well. Neck, head, kind of anything like that. Especially if you're, it depends exactly what you want to do and how you want to do it. But that's probably the easiest. I would say right away, yeah. But by no means would you be limited to that. As mentioned, like if you want to get more creative, then that's where we talked about fashion, having other people that have worked with textiles, with other things. Like I'm sure somebody could put something together pretty decent within kind of a 36-hour period roughly. So it's just needed for that, but it's also beneficial. You can they can play with materials, design, kind of whatever there. So just know that when you're picking your teams, that if that's something you want to go somewhere else, you might want to recruit the right person. Yeah.
Well, was there another hand? Am I hallucinating? Maybe.
Maybe.
Well, I'm good, Lee, and I think I got a good idea of what what we kind of need to focus on to give these guys everything they need.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm curious, who already has a team that they're thinking of? Okay, is it the three of you?
Yeah, we're potentially looking for more members, or we might pull some from out of this room.
Okay, cool. Who doesn't have a team but will be looking for one? Okay, this might be just a good opportunity because I think you also came in late. So what's your faculty skill sets? Give yourself a little bit of a sales pitch to other people.
No, at least one of the people on this team. So I don't really want to talk about myself right now.
Well, I'm also curious what faculty. We asked everyone that at the beginning too.
I'm a student at the Texas Immersive Institute.
Okay. Cool. Who else is definitely looking for teams or just gonna kind of go? Rest still just interested, learning more. Okay, cool. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Maybe one of the things I'll just talk about briefly before we call it is a couple of the examples of what our music team did that was really neat was one of the demos was they tied the music from Jaws together with so where we kind of have it as the arm sleeve so you can have the 4 dots going, and what they had was kind of the da-na, 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 and as it starts get increasing in intensity, increasing, getting closer and closer towards like the body as it's getting moving up that way, it starts getting hotter and harder and hotter. And kind of by the end, it's like, it creates this real sense of tension and anxiety in kind of a little 30-second clip. And then, of course, we didn't want to just make everyone anxious that we were demoing to. So they also had, and it was paired with Nocturne, the famous classical piece. And then they had lots of like slow moving crescendos, kind of throughout the whole song, little wave of warm, little bit cold, and everything was kind of gentle movements and stuff there. So like it was a really good example of one type of I'll say showcasing that you can actually affect what people are feeling with music and haptics there. The other thing that's kind of neat about it is like, it is a different experience when you have 4 in a row moving up towards the body, because it feels like it's getting closer. If you do the double on the wrists and such there, then that's a different type of experience. And so a lot of what does go into I'll say a good solution is actually thinking about the body itself. One type of faculty that I didn't mention is anyone kind of in the biology, physiology, kinesiology would be really helpful too, because understanding the body, such as if you want to cool down the just body temperature in general, the wrists are great because it's really thin skin, lots of blood pumping through. So that's something that actually helps cool down the entire body or heat up the entire body. If you put that, say, I don't know, like up here, it'll not have the same experience, right? If you're trying to get the body to respond in certain ways. So a lot of it can be the exact same energy types or the same patterns in different locations, or alternating from one side to the other. Some other neat ideas is you can do sort of screen free gaming or collaboration. I'll talk about one project that I was involved in ideating with somebody else as kind of an experience, but it's basically a 50-foot teeter-totter with people on either side. And it was, the whole purpose of the immersion was to have people you didn't know across the side, and using heights to incite like fear and anxiety. But then when you came into balance was when heart rate variability started to match the other side. So you couldn't communicate with each other, but it was, can I either calm myself down as pairs of 2? So can me and my partner calm ourselves down to match theirs, or can we amp up our heart rates to match theirs? And like, so there's, lots of different ways of that. Was just, as heights, but it was, well, I mentioned it as heart rate variability, sort of matching with other people, getting sort of a shared sense of, if you want to say like oneness with somebody completely across as you're going through heights and different experiences, right? So like there's some really neat ways of tying together some of this stuff. And while we didn't have our dev kits ready for that part, it's a way of communicating. Is your heart rate too high? Is it too low? Is it like, which is why part of the reason I brought up that idea before. So you can see some ties between like a heart rate sensor outputs and some sort of experience, for example, right? So just to start opening up a few different possibilities of, another small project that we will give the little sample application for you guys on the weekend was tying in a year's worth of weather data to experience it on the haptics, right? And when there's rain and thunderstorms or tornadoes, the lights start going crazy for tornadoes or fires, and changing heat and various things. So just to, to be able to experience weather of a certain place, with some weather data and going in. So, like just throwing out a few small, simple ideas that, of tying together data, tying together outputs. It can be music, it can be, a whole bunch of different things. So, I don't think there's necessarily anything else for us that we needed to cover today, but more just good to meet all of you, to introduce who we are, what we do. I'll say we're excited to be out, and I think I've been to Austin once, once briefly, so not very long. So I'm looking forward to actually getting to spend some meaningful time down there. But yeah, looking forward to it. Excited to see what everyone comes up with. And I think that's for me always the most. I'm always blown away by creativity and what people can come up with in a small amount of time. So that's what I'm looking forward to. But anything else from you, Charles?
Nope.
All right, then maybe I can pass it off to Azalea and.
So can we thank our amazing experts from DataFeel, please? Thank you so much. That was amazing. And I'm looking forward to the next workshops because we're really going to dive into the tech side of it. We are going to potentially get one, maybe two development kits, rightly?
Yeah, there should be some being sent shortly.
Yeah, you guys should have them in hand for our next workshop.
Awesome. So we can actually get hands-on. You can get some experience creating some stuff in there. And just to get people excited, though it is a competition at BuildFest. So the top project is gonna get interactive badges for South by Southwest. So you can experience that. And you also get to the top 3 projects. Everyone gets prizes, right? We're working on some tickets. If you have any ideas of like, ooh, free tickets to this experience, let me know because I can always reach out. But the top 3 projects or so will showcase their work at South by during an event that we're putting together. So that is great. It's great experience for your portfolios, for your resumes, for you to share. You will have time to get feedback from the judges, fix your project a little bit, enhance it, clean it up so we can actually showcase it at South by Southwest. So lots of cool opportunities. Please tell other people, if you have friends or other colleagues, professors who would be interested in, sharing the word, please let them know. Same time, same place here for next week. And I'll stick around if anybody has any questions. Please come up if you want to ask something to our experts. I'll have the computer here. Yeah, anything else? Awesome. Maybe I'll bring some snacks next time. I'll bring snacks.
You can mail some to us as well. We'll welcome them.
No, we totally should. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Thank you.
Excited for next week.
Thank you.